Right, here we go. Thank you very much for coming on for episode 2. I'd like to welcome Yieldmos on and Kaku, and if you'd just like to introduce yourself and explain a little bit about what you do and where you've been in crypto and things.
Sure. So my name is Kaku or Mark, whatever feels more comfortable. I'm one of the co-founders and core devs of Yieldmos. And, I come from a very, very kind of, I think, probably a normal engineering background of like Web 2 moving into Web 3. So I could talk a little bit about what Yieldmos is, right? We do largely non-custodial compounding of assets. So what that's going to look like in like a very, very concrete use is you can come on and we support dozens of chains, and you can compound your staking rewards, you can compound your osmosis LP rewards, and like the kind of the secret sauce that we have. So we do this using what's called the auth-z module to do this all non-custodially.
Oh, very nice. No, that's good. Like say, so is this what your main focus is on? Is like the reStaking and auto compounding side of things?
Sure. At the moment, yes. If you come onto our website today, that's what you're going to see. By and large, you can go to almost every major chain and compound your rewards, and we give you a little bit of customizability. You can say some should be not compounded and just settled into my wallet. You could say I want to go to these validators, these other validators. You can kind of customize it in a few different ways. And like I said, we also do the osmosis LP compounding. And these are all just really big time savers, right? Because especially in the interchain, you might be staking 20 different tokens, right? So to go compound those all yourself, it's a pain in the butt, and you'll get slightly lower yields because you're not going to do it every day. Like we will do it for you every day. If it's a very high APR chain, we'll do it for you many times a day, right? To help you get the most out of those.
No, that's perfect. Just to touch quickly, so you mentioned about the osmosis pools. People can also do it with osmosis pools. So because originally before, I know that it was mainly staking and things like that. So what is the process with that? How do you manage to still do that? Is it just the same as them basically authorizing you to be able to compound it from their address?
Yeah, precisely. So, I mean, one of the special things about Yieldmos is that it all is all based on permissions. So you don't give us your staking tokens, you don't give us your osmosis GAM tokens. And for a while, we've had wind LPs in the works, right? You wouldn't give us your wind tokens. You wind up giving us permission to do these like very fine-grained things on your behalf. And then we can go through and automate that for you. So for staking, that looks like giving us permission to do delegation on your behalf, to do withdrawing your delegated rewards. Then for osmosis LPs, it's a different set of permissions, but it's the same process, right? So you'll put your tokens in some pools, and then you'll tell us which one do you want to compound and give us those permissions so that we can do it on your behalf. And it's really beautiful because we don't want the risk of holding on to your tokens, right? And you shouldn't want to give somebody else your tokens unless you have to. So it really is a really, really good pairing.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. So for everyone who is new to the space, obviously, I think sometimes a lot of people get mixed up with APR and APY, like you say. And obviously APR is the annual percentage rate per year, and the APY is the yield that you would get if you compound the APR, like you say. So can you just give a slight comparison of, so if you're staking on the Cosmos Hub, you're earning, just say 15% APR. What would the difference be roughly with the APY if you was to restake and compound? I suppose it varies on whether you're doing it every half a day, whether you're doing it every 4 hours, whether you're doing it every hour. But is there much of a difference between, say, a day and half a day if you compound it?
I mean, so that ultimately comes down to how high the APR is, right? Because if the APR is like 15%, if you do even very aggressive compounding, still you're only going to wind up eking out a couple more percent. So if you could get that up to 18%, that's still great, right? 18% APY, that's still great, and we can help you do that. And that's why in some cases, like when you see these new chains that bust in and they have, 150% APR, we'll do every 30 minutes compounding for you, because that really will make a material difference. Like some of the APRs, if you follow us on Twitter, we will come out with these banners of like, oh, we just added this chain that has 150% APR, and it might be like 500,000% APY. Although, like in fairness, I should give the warning that like these staking APRs, they are estimates, right, based upon how many rewards are being given and how many people are staking. So over time, these very high APRs do tend to go down. So take a note when you're making these decisions, right? That's how that works.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Like you say, it's if you're long term and you want to just keep a stash aside rather than dealing with it yourself, like you say. So, what is how does it work with validators then? Because obviously, I assume the validators have to run basically your software, or how does it work with that? Because I assume only select validators will be able to restake or sort of certain time periods that they do restake, if that makes sense.
Sure. No, I mean, I think this is one of our big selling points, is that we require nothing from the validators, and we out of the box support every single validator in every single set, every single chain that we operate on. They do nothing, and we're able to accommodate everyone without effort on their part. Yeah, exactly. So this is a big thing to us, though, to support decentralization of the active set, because for you to go in and do your compounding regularly to, let's say, 8 validators is like a huge ask from like a retail investor. But you can come to us, you can say, okay, take my rewards, split it between these 7 validators. If you want to get super crazy with it, you could say, send 10% of my rewards to this one, 10% to this other one, 50% to this. You could dice it up however you want. I want to keep some just liquid in my wallet. And so I think there's a big case for Yieldmos pushing decentralization there.
That's good. Like you say, we want to obviously see more decentralization, and some of the top, we need people at the lower end to start catching up with the top end of the Val set, like you say, because it's and
validators already have so much on their plate. Like they don't need to be also worrying about restaking users' tokens, signing things on behalf of users, running out like you hear all sorts of things, people running out of like gas, because when the validators are running these things. So it's just a cleaner system overall. I agree. To do it automatically.
And like saying, and a quick shout out to all the validators who run relayers, because I think people forget in the ecosystem that 100%. Relayers are like one of the most important parts of IBC and it being able to work within the ecosystem, and they're like the under radar sort of knights of the space, because like you say, like I hear about people obviously validating all the time, but you don't hear about the people who relay a lot of the time. So maybe we need to start raising some awareness and supporting some of the validators who are running relayers and things like that, which is obviously great.
Sure.
So obviously we've covered really like the main uses of it and everything like that. Is there, so what will be like your focus going forward? Have you got any plans to add any features? Is there any alpha you can leak with something you haven't told anyone that's coming yet or anything?
Sure. So I mean, we've been very, very, very focused on moving to our own L1, right? Our own chain. And we should be in our first public test net within the next couple of weeks here. So things are really starting to pick up the pace. We've been, there's been so much engineering work to get us to this point. Although it's not over, right? We still have to go through test net and whatnot. So, I mean, in the L1 version of Yieldmos, there's going to be way more features, way more flexibility. We have tons of exciting announcements that we will kind of unveil as things get closer and closer to that public test net or that public main net, right? There will be airdrop stuff. And I mean, I think the biggest alpha that I can give is that our chain will not be like Yieldmos chain. It is not specific for Yieldmos. Yieldmos is the first dApp that will be there. But I think we have much grander plans for it than just being Yieldmos chain.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's good to hear. Like, so I think people, will be excited to hear about that. Another chain. So,
Totally.
is there? I mean, are you looking at anything to do with like the Atom Economic Zone? Are you looking at like ICS or anything like mesh securities or things like that down the line with it? I don't know whether that's, again, because you're obviously launching a chain, it's worth asking the question.
Sure. No, I think the Atom Economic Zone is very enticing, and it's honestly fascinating to watch the growth of that happening. I think that our first version of the chain will just be a totally sovereign. We'll have our own validator set and everything. But I would 100% be open to the idea that eventually we, move over, or we're going to do an airdrop, and the chain will be a truly decentralized structure. So even if I am not the one pushing that we should go that way, somebody from the community could put up a gov prompt, put this in place, and who knows what could happen. So
it's the great thing with governance, like you say. I mean,
totally.
It's a nightmare at the same time, but
sure,
it's like
sure, but I mean.
That's what it's all about. I mean, this is what I keep explaining to people, like with people talk about DPS and things like that online. And I mean, when you've got a governance system involved in crypto, you're going to have a lot of debates and a lot of, open talks and things like that. So, but for me, that just proves that there is a lot of a community out there who are actually talking about these things. Whereas, other ecosystems, you probably don't see as much of that. It's more, everyone else patting each other on the back and doing things like that. So, no, that's crazy. Yeah, no, that's perfect. I mean, is there anything you're looking forward to that's launching in Cosmos or anything soon? Is there any chains that you're looking forward to?
Oh, for sure. I mean, Noise is very exciting. I think kind of by default, anything that Simon, if you're familiar with Simon, anything that he does, like I'm automatically game for, because he's such a powerhouse. And I think also I'm quite excited for Neutron. I think, like, I've read through a lot of their docs, and like on a technical level, a lot of the things they're doing are extremely exciting. So those are two projects that I'm super excited about.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. No, magnificent. I think what we might do is leave it here, keep it nice and short, keep it sweet.
Totally.
I think you've explained everything that you need to, but obviously we can come back and revisit maybe 3 or 6 months down the line, and obviously you should hopefully have a lot more news about the chain that you're potentially launching, and we can obviously, if I mean, how many chains before we finish, actually, how many chains do you how many chains are on the site for people to actually be able to go and restake?
Oh, I would have to double check. It's in the high 30s, I believe. We just the other day I just added Archway, I added Noise, I added we're adding new ones all the time.
All the time. Yeah, no, that's absolutely perfect. So, yeah, no, perfect. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, Kaku.
Likewise.
And I hope we can do it again, in a few months' time.
Oh, it's a plan. Thank you, Danny. I really appreciate the time.
Yeah, no, perfect. Lovely.